I'm going to have another crack at explaining SYL FAQA OAP. Think of it like the third attempt to make the perfect cookie. First lesson, I didn't fail twice. Each time has just shown me where I can next improve. Preach! Testify! With SYL FAQA OAP, I feel like I've created a monster. A cookie monster. Like, I've got Easie's cookies and I'm not sharing them. But I don't have any cookies. I've just got cookie goggles. I just have a completely different perspective, but I think the way that I see things may help a lot of sports people. So I'm going to try and explain SYL FAQA, but also explain why it doesn't neatly fit into a whole training program system type of thing. Training programs are trying to cover what they think are the necessary ingredients for results. The different training programs are going to have and deal with their necessary ingredients in different ways. That's why you'll hear A coach doesn't believe in plyo, B coach is into cleans, C coach loves their hurdle hops, D coach loves those sand runs. They're treating the training program like a recipe, and they're treating the components of the training like ingredients. 2 cups of sprinting, dollop of squats, dash of plyo, just for taste. Then they treat the abstract character traits like hard work, dedication and discipline like tools that you need in the kitchen, like ovens, ladles and whisks. You get memes like, victory is forged in the fire of desire. With lyrics like that, all you need is a soft rock backing track and you'd have yourself a hit. In the 80s. And this system tells you that if your training works, you're a good person. And if your training doesn't work, there's something wrong with you. But I think that's a failing system and I'm going to try and clean it up. So here's Essop's kitchen nightmares. Let's say you want to make some cookies. Go online and dig up 5 recipes. They'll all say something slightly different. Some will have different amounts of flour and different types. Some will have baking powder, some won't. Some will use ground almonds, others won't. Now the person endorsing the recipe publishes it because it works for them. But if you cooked them all up and had some kind of taste off, it's like that, and that's the way it is. Only one would win, but that's just taster's choice. But these recipes all work, and this recipe system works because there's one consistent: the ingredients. Plain flour is plain flour, butter's butter, and brown sugar is brown sugar. So the recipe works because the ingredients are pretty consistent the world over. The recipe might vary slightly, but the ingredients we consider are consistent. Now in my experience, that's where training plans fall apart and fail. See, the ingredients aren't the elements of the training. The ingredients are you. You're the ingredients. When a recipe calls for 200 grams of self-raising flour, you're the self-raising flour. The plyo's not the self-raising flour. You're the self-raising flour. Plyo is the sieve or the whisk. It's the mechanical object that works on the ingredient to prepare it for the recipe. Let me hit you with some flour chemistry. The difference between self-raising flour and plain flour is baking powder and salt. They add those 2 normal ingredients to plain flour and call it self-raising flour and make it sound like Jack and his beanstalk beans. Now if you cook with plain flour, it doesn't rise. If, as an athlete, you think you've got self-raising flour, but really you've got plain flour because you're missing the baking powder, then all the plyo and weights in the world isn't going to make you rise. You get me? Weights and plyo is like the food processor or the spatula. You're missing the baking powder. That's your limiting factor. So SYL FAQA OAP just recognizes that you have plain flour rather than self-raising flour, and then just comes up with the best ways for you to add the baking powder. Then you do the training, which is just the folding over and baking, and then you end up with soft and chewy oatmeal and raisin cookies. So now you're going to ask, how does SYL FAQA OAP know that you've got plain flour rather than self-raising flour flowing through your veins? You analyze joint alignment, muscle imbalance, muscle activation and movement patterns. You need to know before you start cooking that your flour's been certified by the Flour Institute as good quality flour. Once you're certified fresh, you take your performance, record it, and then analyze it. That's like cooking up batch 1 of your cookies. Assess it, reconfigure it, go again. Bear in mind that flexibility improves day to day, strength improves week to week, and speed improves month to month, so that's your time scale. You're just trying to make better batches and batches of cookies over time, not one batch of cookies to give to the gods of competition like some kind of harvest festival at the end of the season. Now, this might be the bit that's hard to accept. I'm not suggesting that I've got some kind of amazing, weird and wonderful training techniques that have never been heard of. A lot of it's probably the same stuff that you already know or you'd find out with a quick tap into Google. There's no to improve speed in SYL FAQA OAP, the limiting factor normally is hip flexion, so flip her up, swim to the bottom of the ocean and play chase me with the sharks. It just requires the understanding of this basic concept that the individual is more important than the program. You need an analytical eye and you need to know what you're looking for. Now the knowledge I'm covering in the vids, but the experience, you're either going to have to go trial and error or you're going to have to subcontract. Now my experience tells me that individuals exist on a spectrum with different limiting factors that training can address if you spot them. So that's why the system resists being written as a training program, because it's not about the training program, it's about the individual. It defies being periodized over a year. At best, you might be able to say it's a fluid, liable to change at any time in the week guide. Really, it's more like an astrology chart. Not in the fact that it's nonsense, but in the fact that its vagueness allows us all to apply the information individually. SYL FAQA OAP says that the ingredients are you biomechanically and psychologically. The tools of the training, you bring them together, you get the result. If you get the result, bank it, and then search for the next limiting factor biomechanically and psychologically. All the training works for someone because it suits their biomechanical and psychological setup. Training's Darwinian. It doesn't survive unless it works for someone. Just because it works for someone doesn't mean it's going to work for you unless you share their biomechanical and psychological setup. In the next one, I'll list the limiting factors, but like I've said, there's really no Michelin star for my cookies. It's just a different perspective and understanding. But maybe perspective and understanding is the most important thing. Right, that's the abstract one over. On to the nuts and bolts. I best go get my apron. I hope this helps. Bust me a thumbs up, because let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good. Chat away in the comments bay, and if you like my vibe, please subscribe. Woo! Woo!